as Harrison promised, I'm taking over for him now. And of course, without my own echo in the background. We are about to start the next series, round of 16, with a best of 5 between Conqueror and Kaister. Both of them showed up. Game should be starting any second now, so I'm quite happy. To be honest here, I already got to cast the games between Reezy and Ezard yesterday with Toby, as well as the ones from Tabin versus Frontline, which really had their moments. But after this best of 5, that actually went to 5 games and was casted by Harrison. It's a bit of an ungrateful spot to start casting here, I have to admit that. But I'm looking forward to really awesome games. So let's see what's going to come up here. You should be able to see the bans on screen already. So, as always for this round of 16, we have 7 maps and each player has a ban. So a map ban and a global Civ ban. Don't forget about that. So Brits are out of the question for both players, as well as Haudenosaunee. So sadly, we can't repeat that game that we just saw in Florida, which was insane, to be honest. But yeah. And Kai starts saying they are in the lobby, so we should be good in a second. Just waiting for the game to come up and then we'll see. So, since they banned Punjab and what was the other map? Bengal, I think. We're just going to start on Grand Chaco as always. And I mean, for the last few games, we have always seen more or less similar approach to that map. So Dutch was a high favoured Civ right there because, well, of the non-existent TP need, right? And on the other side, we had picks like India, for example, just because you have those 2 scouts that just enable you to get those livestock just a teeny tiny bit faster and more efficiently than normal Civ would. So really looking forward to this. Let's see if we can already find them. Not yet, just in a second. But I'm really glad that we have this kind of tournament right here, because especially with the last few patches, we've always had this back and forth with the new civs and the problems that you sometimes have with them, right? So I'm quite happy that we get to play a series in the old sense again, with the legacy civs and all that, without just sticking to the original things. And of course, I'm interested in you guys, your guys' opinions, actually. What do you think with this kind of matchup, right? So, 2 well-known players in the end. Who's favoured here? I'm just interested to see some comments in the chat right now, just to make sure everything is running smoothly. Any favourites, any predictions here? How this is going to end? Alright, so Julian definitely looking out for long series. Just because you played one right now, or? By the way, really wonderful games. It was a great joy to watch that. The 2 of you, Yuki and you, playing that one out. That was impressive as hell. So let's hope. So I'm really hoping to see something on that kind of level again, you know, to just keeping that up. Oh yeah, Harrison for Yuki again, of course. Alright, and the game is supposed to be launching right now, so we should see it coming up any second now, hopefully. And oh, they already told me the matchup, so this is going to be interesting. I'm just going to update that in a second, so you guys can see before we start into the game. So Grand Chaco is the first map, as I told you, and the matchup already makes for makes for an interesting dynamic. Let's call it that at least. So, because Kaister is opening with a Dutch, as I said, or as I predicted to some extent, and Conqueror is actually going to go Ezzy right here. So let's see where that puts us in the game. I'm just hoping they didn't forget about the spectator mode, but usually that is not a problem anymore at that level, right? So, but this is going to be rather interesting for this, because I mean, I don't have to explain to most of you guys, right, how this is going to play out. With Aztecs against Dutch, usually you'll see some aggressive play, right? Just because you need to contain that kind of back boom from the Dutch, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Conqueror is going to approach this, and how Kaister is going to, well, defend from it, or how he wants to approach the other side here. So this already is a promising matchup, I'd say. Oh, nice to have you here as well. Some guys coming over from the German league, it seems, as well. And there we go, as promised, Kaister's game is here. Grand Chaco Kaister versus Conqueror 97. So this is going to be one hell of a fight in the first round. And there we go. So far, so good. I'm hoping that we're not going to have a problem here with joining it, but usually it doesn't load that long. That's always a good sign. All right, just give me a second there. Alright, I'm just going to quickly restart the game. I see this is, yeah, the usual Age of Empires problems. The shenanigans that we are sadly kind of used to now, right? Just going to put you back on the overlay for a second and I'll be right back. Hopefully, this thing doesn't take too long. But that is just the things that we still have to fight with after, what, 2 years of the game now? 2 years of actively playing the game, and still you are going to have those little problems right here and there. We are back online, anyways. We're actually going to do another series, another best of 5, and it's going to be Kaister versus Conqueror, as you can see. Because I don't think he provided one, at least not to me. I'm going to change that if there are any complaints for the next one, but in the meantime, he's just going to look like John Black for now. So I just quickly had to restart the game, sadly, due to connection issues with the game. But spectator mode is in. Alright, Animus, sad to see you leave, but enjoy your day and see you the next time. And there we go. Observe, and hopefully it's loading in now. We've got Kaister versus Conqueror, best of 5, round 1, Grand Chaco, and we've got Dutch versus Aztec. And there we go. This time it's finally loading in. So we should be absolutely fine right there. And there we go. Kaister starting in the north of the Dutch, and in the southeast we've got Conqueror 97. And the matchup is, in my opinion, going to be really fun. Really fun in the end.
Hello?
I mean, the Dutch as a starting civ here is just something that we've seen over and over again. We saw it with Ezet versus Rizi, we saw it with Frontline versus Tavern, so it's quite obvious that that is going to be something that is just favoured with Grand Chaco, just because of the fact that you have that extra scout, and that you can, that you don't really need a trading post, and therefore you don't suffer from not having any access to it. So I'm really looking forward to this. And the usual fight for this livestock is already beginning. Llama's going here on one side, going with the Envoy on the other side. Those two are certainly going to be casters. I don't think that Conqueror can contest that one. And yeah, we see the classic ability here. Oh, market starts. Alright. As well, the community plaza from Conqueror. So a bit more economic approach there, I'd say. And let's see how this is going to play out. So we've got Tarak here on this side. Also, the scouting is rather important on this map, I always feel like, because the problem is that at some point you have to get out of your base for the resources, right? Yeah, the problem is I can't update the title, so I just ask if any mods are here, I'd ask them to do it. But otherwise, we'll just have to go with what we have right now. So a nice 50 coin treasure, that is just going to make it easier to get those hunting dogs. Yeah, and we're going to see that in a second, right? There we go. So nice and clean. Rather comfortable for Conqueror, I think, having those hunting dogs in a bit early. And yeah, Dutch just doing Dutch things. Let's look at the decks so far. Alright, so I think when we have the main event, or when the player's actually going to be hidden, you can't name it that, but you see, you have the CM in there just to be defensive, which makes, well, quite a lot of sense, right? A lot of sense there for Kaister. And Conqueror on the other side, he has Kalmakak sitting there. He also has the Food Silos upgrade, actually. Javelins, or the Malian allies as well. A lot of army in H2. And quite a lot of those support cards in H3. So I'm wondering, no fencing school though, so if he wants to go for a priest boom, then he just has to go with the 3 runs that is in his deck. Speaking of map and line of sight, and also scouting, right? Kai's already going for all 3 of those native settlements, which, in my opinion, I don't know what you guys think about this new feature, but for me, it's actually something that's quite useful, because it's not too overwhelmingly good, right? But it just gives you that extra little advantage if you actually care to take those trading posts and to kind of get the extra line of sight. Oh, it doesn't affect that anymore. Sorry, that's something I'm not up to date with, apparently. Then that is something I missed when I did a 2-hour video on the last few patches. But alright. So, Kai's already going up with the Quartermaster. Quite a good age up time, I'd say. So he's going to be up shortly after 4 minutes, I'd say. On the other side, Conqueror not seeing too much of the map yet. Kalmakak coming in. So, fast age up with the Elder. Will be done in a second or so. And I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. That extra priest, of course, basically giving you another trading post worth of XP per second. So, rather strong. Especially on a map like this, where there's no other way to get that extra XP from. And there we go, Warhut is coming forward. And let's see where it ends up being placed. Kaister on the other side, closely behind with the H-up, just because that new mechanics for Dutch kind of buffed them again after the last patch. Yeah, and there we go. Conqueror still, he's still a bit blind, but he's now getting his scouting done. Sees the first bank, doesn't see any military building yet, so... But he's gonna take a close look at that, making sure that he gets his composition right, and his game plan based on that, I suppose. And I'm rather interested in what we're going to see from Conqueror here as the first. Wanted to send Vils first, but there we go. 3 warrior priests, actually. Warhut's going up here. And is Kaister aware of it yet? No, he did not find it yet. Just by... Oh, there we go. Probably going to scout in a second. Yeah, there we go. 700 wood first. And the second bank going up already for Kaister. Yeah, and we already see, yeah, and Kev start, of course, that makes sense. We will see how this works out, of course. And the 7 would, I assume we're going to see another bank in a second or so. Bank wagon coming in as well. There we go. Oh, that will is on the way too. I'm probably getting that herd a bit closer by, right? Next bank is coming in, so we're going to be in four banks in a second, and the stables coming up as well, which might be interesting if the first card from the first unit from Conqueror is actually going to be those Vills, those Coyote runners. But we will see how that plays out. Betcha 3, yeah, and he is already on the Warrior Priest stance, just increasing the numbers here, increasing the potency and the strength of that strategy. Most interestingly, those actually those settlements are still under control of Kaister, which is a bit fascinating to me. Because I think if I was Conqueror, I would take those just to make sure he doesn't see any raids coming like he does here right now, right? So he's going to see that move by. Probably not, actually. Well, let's see. This, classical Dutch base, right? As closely put together as possible, and basically building a wall of banks all around it. We've got 2 Huss incoming, 6-7 wood as the next card. But yeah, I don't see too much. I don't see how Conqueror can do much damage right there. And the 4 Huss are going to come out now, but yeah, they might just catch the Coyotes right under the TC. And Kaister just doing good work, excellent work here, making sure it doesn't lose any villagers to this, of course. And now, that is the time. Conqueror has overstayed the patience of Kaister. Now he's being chased out of the base, but with that kind of reinforcement, yeah, alright, alright. Kaister pushing that raid back out of his base again. In the meantime, that trading post has been taken, alright. We have Jenny the pet jogger right over there. Alright. And we see even more cav from the sides of Conqueror. How many? Yeah, we have 8 warrior priests. The 9th one is out now. Actually, I'm wondering why it didn't set the gathering point, because I think you can still do that, right? You can set the gathering point right in the middle of it, of the community plaza. Just make sure that those guys don't idle around if you forget them. And now a Conte raid or a Dutch raid is going to come in a second or so. And on the east side, on the west side of the base of Conqueror, well, it depends on where he's going in, right? If he comes from the west, he might just not catch anything at all. Worst case scenario. In the meantime, of course, that is a considerable force to fight against, especially since we don't have any barracks there, any units to defend the base right now. So those Puma Spearmen alone could do some damage, depending. Depending if... Oh! Actually, one will getting catched right there, getting caught. Now staying there for... Oh god, those guys are not going to get out of there alive, yeah. Oh, Kaister choosing the wrong exit route and getting absolutely slaughtered here. That guy is also not going to come out alive. At the same time, the bank here being easily defended by TC fire and militiamen. Although that, yeah, well, he still managed to stop Conqueror from actually destroying it, so I think that's a good position for him to be in. He's also aging up, and he sent in CM behind that with a shipment almost ready again. So once he reaches the 3rd age, Kaister should be in a fine position. Well, with that at least. Depending on how he fares against that Coyote on the Mars. CM is in, yeah. If I did not... Yeah, there we go. And now the problem is, since the HP upgrade is not in for those Coyote guys yet, they of course get one-shotted by the TC. Another dead Vil, though, for the Dutch player, and... I mean, he did repair it, so he's probably not going to go down, or at least at quite the cost for Conqueror. I don't know if you want to... Yeah, he's trying to, you know, persuade him from not going after the bank, but now, of course, those 3 Huss are going to get sacked again, probably. And in the meantime, we have those 10 warrior priests on the attack dance, of course. Oh, that's gotta hurt. But the problem is with that army, NCM, and you can't really do much here, right? There's the reinforcements, so 5 more Puma Spearmen, probably trying to get at least that one bank down, because otherwise, Conqueror he wasn't able to do that much damage. Oh, there we go, another Vil. I take that back. 31 to 23 now. Reuter's coming in to defend from this, which, well, is the sensible reaction here, I'd say. Because we just have a handful of skirms, of slingers from Conqueror. And those guys, especially combined with the Huss, are definitely going to chase that army off. And let's see how Conqueror... Yeah, he's sending in more mace. More Tauntins. And just making sure he gets that right. Resource-wise, there's one thing I have to say. If we look at this, I mean, Kaister is on berries already. Trying to get those resources in probably later on. But for Conqueror, he's almost running out of resources here because his vills have to be here and here. Only got that war hut to protect them. So... gonna be difficult. So that is the army of Kaister trying to defend this, and then we see this. Well, Aztec always looks a bit more impressive than it actually is when we're thinking about army quality. But still, the point is, CM is just such a good addition against H2 Conqueror, H2 Aztec, because it one-shots basically any units that they have, except for Coyotes if you have the upgrade on it. So that is going to be rather hard to deal with, and rather hard to do damage if you're being shot at by units and by a TC. And now we've got the first skirm south barracks in the back, and we are on 4 banks. Yeah, with another house going up, so villager-wise, 37 to 27, so 8 villages ahead, but of course the banks more than account for that difference, and I'm pretty sure that Kaister's actually would be economically ahead if he could gather from natural resources a bit better. And now it's just that back and forth in the middle of the base. Stretchoids, oh, the War Gelder's actually out. I didn't see him sending through the Church Cup, but he apparently did. Yep. So those guys are going to be a welcome addition to this fight, just a bit beefy units, and especially 56 hand attack. Anti-cav going down rather quickly. Now he has to pull it back though, and I'm not too sure if he has enough cavalry left to force this fight. He certainly does not have enough left to kind of to actually clean the army or to go against the war hut, but still. And for the guys asking about the casters in the background, because I see that thing is probably not working properly. The commander, I'm just MFD, I'm a Austrian caster, and I've the honors to be present at this event today after casting Reezy versus Ezard yesterday and Frontline versus Terran as well. Ooh, but here he's gonna get... Oh, he's caught out of position so badly because those skirms are all going to be slaughtered right there, and then we have the Prowler Knights right in the cavalry, and there's not a chance in the world that this is going to go out well for him. Ooh, really hard for Kaister. Warguild is going down, cavalry going down, and a lot of Vils in there as well. But he has to take care of the cavalry though in order to keep his slingers alive. Ooh, but that was a juicy attack. That was well planted right there. And now we're back at 27 Vils against 37, so 10 villager lead by now. And not a proud, strong German, by the way. Well, let's not get into detail about that too much. But alright, and there, Conqueror is being chased back again. So, oh, but now we have the Hulkan Javelineers coming in. And that is going to be a fun addition to this fight, because those guys, additionally to the speed they have, the attack speed is also great. And they have a bit higher HP than your base musketeer unit. And it just props up that standard Aztec army composition of cav and slingers rather well, in my opinion. Question is, do we have any? Yeah, still no natural resources. Oh, there we go, on the left side still. Natural resources for Kaister, so points evened out kind of at this point. Also getting his explorer back for Conqueror. And actually we see a lot more halberdiers now for Kaister. leggy right there. Yeah, we are right. Okay. And of course, now, only now we've got the veteran Huss incoming. So Kaister has been in H3 for quite some time. And now this is going to... So that could have actually pushed the fight in another direction. But of course, he was busy getting the war girders and all that. So I don't know if he got all that much of you know, of an advantage out of these units, because they are rather strong, but only if you can mix them with some other cav. And I think he maybe overstayed in that first fight when the war girders in front line, letting them die a bit too easily, probably. But now again, we have a back and forth in the base of the Dutch player, and that of course is not too beneficial for Conqueror at the moment. Still CM is in, we've got one villager only, so that is actually not too much of an issue. Only 13 damage being done. Oh, but the big militiaman button being caught, and now this is going to be hard on him. That might be a complete cleanup against Conqueror, and we see the score dropping harshly, 3,000 points ahead already. And the Javeliniers are a good unit, but they are gone after a few seconds. Conqueror taking a few vills in the process, but that's all that he has here. So he has to fall back with... Well, I don't even think he can fall back here, actually. Those three guys are going to get away, but that's all he has. And now I think it's time for Kaister to push his advantage and just end at that point. Yep. One proud coyote runner trying to raid, but the villagers are not having it. And not the other side, of course. That's not the raid, that's just the slaughter right there. And that warhead is not gonna see a minute more of lifetime, I think. But the Huss are actually going in further. While the infantry sieges this, he has the confidence that there's not enough cav here to kind of deal with the militiamen. And he's just pushing into the base of Conqueror with those veteran Huss. And now we see the full extent of this attack, of this overcommitment from Conqueror's side. 5,000 score, 5k score lead for Kaister at this point. Oh, I'm on Mother Nature, that makes sense. And now we see another Holkan shipment coming in. Those guys being repelled on the west side. And finally, the merchants are free to roam the world again. So they're actually able to get some natural resources to bolster up that villager, to bolster up that economy. And also, if we look back at Kaister, he's now also going for some anti-cavalry in the form of Reuters as well. Okay. I saw a repetition of you know what happens here in the first 6 minutes, I think, of the start of the game, when he lost his 4 Huss because 5 of those coyote runners just cut off their path out of the base, but he thankfully pulled up. And now he is a strong base where the once proud Conqueror stood once with his war hut, and he's going to apply more and more pressure, just trying to keep Conqueror in his base, I assume, or trying to, because if we look at the map, if Kaister had any idea of that, because he can't really scout all of... Oh, he could. He could do a lot of damage against. He could basically end it without, I think, without fighting the military of Conqueror at all at this point. But actually, Conqueror here going for a rather cavalry-heavy composition. Just, I think he wants to overpower Kaister with that. Arguably a good idea here, because there is not too much anti-cav. So, but the problem is, behind that cav, he doesn't have anything to do the damage to that heavy infantry if the fight comes on. And we see a lot of back and forth. The chief is, of course, in there tanking like a madman, like you always see from Aztec. And now we're just going to slowly, yeah, we're just seeing that slow push into the base of Conqueror. And even those 10 warrior priests, they're not going to be enough with that usual warrior spam, especially after the warriors got nerfed after the last patch. Yeah, good. Those Puma Spearmen, of course, dying for nothing, but still kind of chasing Kaister's army, or leading them to chase them. And yeah, if you as an Aztec player have fewer units than Kaister has with his Dutch player, then you're probably not in a good spot, right? And there we see the big fight finally happening now. Halberdiers are in the front line, absolutely happy where they are. And in the back line, they're now 22 Reuters, and we have the GG Conqueror resigning, and that's the first game for Conqueror, actually. Aztecs versus Dutch. Dutch was happy to pull ahead and was easily defeating the raids from Conqueror, which led to this wonderful push in a good position. Especially the overcommitment from Conqueror just defeated the entire purpose of building up and staying in H2 longer. Let's take a look at the resources. Yeah, look at that. Kaister just leading by 7,000 resources. So basically a quarter of the, yeah, something around that. Even though if you look at the 3 units, 2,000 resources more for Conqueror, but still, that doesn't make the difference here anymore. And if you look at military, yeah, 2-1 is what that is. And of course that is, oof. Ooh, that's a harsh example right there. If we're looking at villager population, well, Kaister did lose some, right, in the fight, so 3 there and a few here, but still in the end, with this Banks, he's just able to continue his military mass. And let's look at the military unit population, because I think that's the most interesting graph right here. That fight actually went quite well. That was when Kaister was being caught outside his own base, right, and then Conqueror here wanted to push in, and that one he completely blundered his army under the TC with all of that extra stuff coming in, especially the big militia button. I don't know if he was aware that TC was in, but that was rather strong. And you see from this position he was just never able to recover, right, even though he had a strong remez, but it's just not enough to keep up with Kaister's army here. Alright, I'd say first game's over. I'll quickly update the score in a second, and then we'll hopefully have another game right lined up for us already. So there we go. 1-0 now, the first game is played. I would love to give you some betting, but the problem is that I'm just the caster here, so I don't have the rights as far as I'm aware for this channel yet. So if there's anyone from the community there or any of the operators, they could do that, but the problem is, oh, I can't provide that. I'm really sorry, guys. Good point. Actually, because that is just the easiest to set up. Because that is the first time for me working with this kind of overlay. And I just wanted to keep it simple for the first try instead of going overly fancy and then, you know, messing things up. But 1-0 Kaister here. And hopefully we're going to see the other game in a second. Yeah, it's already up. Next game, next map is Saguenay. And let's get into that. And just to correct the Nightbot there, I think it's still it's still on Harrison, which is of course not true. I'm not Harrison. I'm well. My name is MFD. I'm an Austrian caster, and I just have the honor to do this series with you after doing a wonderful cast night yesterday with Feldherr Tobi, which is a good friend of mine. And so I'm happy to be here with you for this series as well. Next game is actually Spain versus Portugal on Saguenay, on the winter edition of it. Problem right there. I don't think the winter edition is allowed, actually. I just have to quickly check that up, but if I'm not mistaken, this might be a problem, because yesterday we had the problem with the game Taban versus Frontline that it was in winter as well, and I think it's not allowed to be there, to be that way, because as you know, Saguenay can spawn in different editions. But I'm just going to text the organization troop, or the Orga troop, and then we're going to talk about that in a second. But of course we're going to cast this game as if it happened anyway. So Spain with a tempo advantage against Portuguese. Keep in mind though that for this tournament the Portuguese cards, the Feitorias, are not allowed in this match. So I always butcher the name because I'm just used to Feitorias from H2. No, Feitorias, alright. Almost, right? And of course water spawn is also not ideal if you want to go for water play with Portuguese right here. Spain, of course, coming up with the trading post. And Kaister, yeah, he's got his house up, so we're not going to see anything fancy. No 12-10 or things like that. And just see how this plays out. And again, we see this big advantage, right, that Spain just has in H2. You automatically win H1 in the most cases, just because of that little friendly dog biting the Portuguese player's arms off right now. Or still going at it, at least. Do we have the decks already? Oh yeah, well, I think I don't have to explain that in theory, but of course we're seeing at least a deck that slightly, let's say slightly, looks like a so there we go. It looks like we're going to see an age up with the logistician, so extra juicy right there. So those resources right here are going to be worth, I think, about 600 resources in H2, or a bit more even, and they're going to be deposited right straight in your inventory. So guys, definitely want to go for that one. Or it could of course be a faker, but I don't think that still happens on that kind of level, trying to you know, confuse the enemy with few worthless cards, as these cards will be if you don't go with the logistician. So I'm quite interested in seeing how that goes up. Portuguese player aging at 3 minutes, or more or less at 3 minutes. Advanced trading post actually going in. Quartermaster as well. So a usual, normal start here from Conqueror. Kaister on the other side going up with, surprise, the logistician. And yeah, we see two players that are definitely prepared to fight it out in the water. Also, what I find interesting is the native treaties, because that could actually, you know, if you go, we see he's actually scouting, he's actually actively getting the settlements. Cree settlement finally here. Last game that I casted on this map was actually Tavern versus Frontline, and half in the game, or halfway into the game, we realized that there was no settlement there for Frontline actually. So here we have normal map generation, thankfully. And is he going to go for it? That's the question. So Conqueror already going here for the Cree, which is always a good investment because it buffs your gather rate on the ships, if I'm correct. It also buffs your... Oh, not on the ships. Ships is actually... Ship gather rate is on the Huron settlement. And here you get your CDBs and your extra HP on units. So rather useful there. But with Conqueror's Explorer going down right here, well, almost going down, it might be difficult to actually get a hold of that trading route, depending on how he plays this. And CDB, yeah, just to answer that as well, CDBs definitely cost pop right here, so that's one of the few units that actually requires you to have some pop space in there. So Conqueror going for 700 wood first makes sense if he wants to go for the trade line, but actually if we look at this, he's going to have a hard time actually getting there when his Explorer is down. And of course we have the dock from Kaister, so he's going to for logistician into Waterboom. Also with those two trading posts, he's got a lot of tempo on his side and also a lot of resource cards. Let's look at that. He is actually getting an extra 225 resources from this card, which you wouldn't be getting otherwise. And those cards, again, they don't give you as much resources as if you send one of those, but they actually gonna be sent directly to your inventory, which makes it just that much more useful. The Huntsman actually also cost a few population spots as far as I believe. Those Royal Huntsmen. So, third shipment, what is it going to be from the Keck player? Conqueror going for nothing so far. And yeah, well, Kaister just being annoying with the dogs, as always. Those units, oh, second dock already out from Kaister, so he is really going to go for the water. He really wants that. And we see the Cree outpost from Kaister as well, so really trying to get his eco numbers up as quickly as possible. That house is going to help him with that, of course, not being popped. Yeah, it's the problem is we are at 6 minutes already, right? And Conqueror has got nothing, in the sense of he has no chance. He didn't undertake any actions to kind of punish Kaister for his greedy approach. And he himself isn't going too greedy as well, so it's a bit, well, Weird. Rules say you can't do Fatorias, yeah. That is one of the banned cards, and the other one is the 500 gold Pandora card for Germany in H3, because that is just dumb. Sorry to say, but yeah. And now there we go. So the treaties are in. We're certainly seeing the units from Conqueror now, but we will see if it's not too late. I mean, those guys are insanely useful skirm units, in my opinion, just because of the huge HP numbers there. 260 HP, that's almost double of a normal musketeer at this stage. Those guys are just there to tank everything. They're just the meat tanks right there. And they also provide a decent improvement in siege value. Yeah, the Panduras should most certainly be up there with 1,000 gold, if not even more, to be honest. By the way, thanks Dorfjunge for clearing things up. Again, I'm still not Harrison. Yeah, and we just see one, you see that, just one shipment after the other, one resource shipment after the other. We see not a single H2 shipment has been sent from Kaister, and one thing that's going to make this even more useful for him is this card, right? House of Trastamara, your next age up is cheaper and faster. The more shipments you've received in your current age, that means as he's going on, shipping all those H1 shipments when he's in H2, at one point he's going to be able to age up for basically nickel, so... And there we go, and now in the meantime the lower post going down, and of course Kaister's seeing that the army is about to approach him again. He probably just wanted to get Conqueror's attention here, but of course he's not, his real investment here is not the trade route. I think he's got a lot of value out of that already with the extra XP that he got from those two trading posts being up for so long actually. Oh, this could be an interesting fight. We're seeing the docks coming in, 124 life, of course, but the cavalry is going to make all the difference if they get to do the damage or not, depending on how well the musketeers are microed right there. Oh, and that's beautifully done. Look at that, only 5 of those guys left. That means the entire army of Conqueror is basically being pushed back. Oh, he needs to get the huss out. They don't want to be in the... Yeah, there we go. Basically all musketeers dead now. And that was beautifully microed right there. See, this is the surviving army here. We have no anti-cav at this point, only some militiamen, and those are quickly losing value right there. Of course, Conqueror now has the 3 TP, the entire TP line. Is he already doing an upgrade? No, he's actually aging to the 3rd age. What do we have in here? All melee units, so Huss, Pike, Veteran, Halberdier, all those units are getting more attack, alright? Yeah, the 3 organ guns, those are going to do a number on the current army of Kaister, of course. But we will have to see if that actually gets put into action, because Kaister, on the other hand, is on 51 villages against the 36 of the Portuguese player. And the problem is that, yes, you're just seeing those military buildings are going to go up, but also all we have here is just an uncontested boom by Kaister at this point. 21. 21. 1. Fishing boats out there. Do we have the upgrades yet? 5.7. No, not yet. But on food, I think they do have the upgrades, at least in food. Because usually it's 0.67 or something. Yeah, and that town center. Kaister is going to punish that if he can. But the Huss are out of order now. I think that's the last one that's on the map, and nah, but there's nothing really to make Kaister back up. Yeah, okay, he's probably seeing the skirms there and doesn't know what's coming next, so he's just going to take a dive there. Smart decision, because if you remember the last game there, Conqueror just blundered his army under the TC, and you don't want to do this here, especially if Kaister is already in Conqueror is already in the 3rd age, so a huge shipment could be coming in any second now, so you don't want to stand under the TC when that happens. Yeah, and we see skirms first and then the 3 organ guns. And it's a bit risky in my opinion, because if you see Kaister, right, if he just goes for cavalry there, then you have what, 5 veteran dragoons? That is going to take care of nothing basically. We're going to... Oh, you guys... what I'm thinking about is that we see Kaister aging up now with the bishop, right? So the extra TC, which makes sense. He's going to improve his boom power, right? Maybe also trying to protect some of this water, or depends on where he puts his TC in the end. But what he is now throwing away is all the value of all the shipments that he's sent so far, right? Because those, if he edges up, are not going to count towards House of Trastamara. Because it's about shipments you have received in your current age. That means once he's in age 3, that is actually not going to count towards age 4 anymore. So that's a bit of a blunder, I'd say. Or not a blunder, but a weird approach in my opinion. In the meantime, Conqueror actually being in the score lead. 3 TCs deep into a boom, now on 50 villages himself. 65, so 15 villages only ahead for Kaister. And we see the military buildings going up in the back, desperately trying to kind of get back into a defendable position here. That TC is probably not going to move too far. Yeah, and those organ guns and those guys, with the latest changes to them that have been made, are just super scary. And that is rather impressive, because those guys, don't forget, they have lock-on features now, right? And of course there's now 3 of them for that shipment, so that is really, really going to put the pressure onto Kaister. His answer, of course, Falconets, but you have 2 versus 3, and with that army, basically what Conqueror could do, he could probably just run in and shoot or attack. Just, you know, cheaply get one of those Falconets out of the way, even if he's losing a few units there. And look at that. Ah, that's so unfortunate. Oh, but a good try at least from Kaister here. But now he's probably about to get slaughtered with the Cazadors in the back. I mean, the Dragoons alone at this point are probably able to deal with this, and then there's still a 1 organ gun alive, and even if he charges it now. Harsh position to be in. 2,000 resources in the back, by the way. And he can't just send 1,000 gold and age up here right now, because he has to, you know, defend from this pressure. Otherwise, he's not going to see the end of this day. Oh, and Ville's being forced back into the sea, or at least out of the way here. So, he's really lucky that he has the water. The water is just all that saves him now. Oh, it doesn't even have 1,000 gold. Oh, that is a harsh position to be in, to say the least, I'd say. Yeah, now we see those 5 musketeers up there doing a lot of work, just basically keeping Kaister away from the resources. In the meantime, we of course have Stagecoach down here, and it's put to wood. And now we see the juicy units coming in higher, and the armored pistoliers. Those guys are still, even after several nerfs, absolute menace to deal with, because they basically act as meat shields for each other, absorbing the damage that is being done to units close to them. So really interesting play right there. And of course, one thing we can't forget, due to the fact that Kaister is mostly spread on water, even if Conqueror doesn't contest this, Conqueror has access to basically all the resources, natural resources that is left here. Nope, Spain got no 1k gold in the deck, actually. Just looking at Conqueror's deck for a second there. Now we got Spanish gold, followed by Cavalry Combat. And the problem is, Cavalry Combat would have been a nice idea, or Cavalry units would have been a nice idea a few moments back, right? But now we've got a whopping, or 15 Dragoons right there, and those are going to put an end to anything cavalry that even smells of cavalry that is going to come near that skirmisher mass. Now we've got that skirm-goon composition, of course, but I mean veteran skirms, even though it's Spanish skirms, that might be a difficult position to fight here. 2,000 score lead now, 4,000 or 3,000 score points score lead for Conqueror at this point, and he's done a really wonderful job at, you know, turning this whole thing around after taking so much time to kind of get the trade route and get his order into his game plan into order. So if we look at that, yeah. Oh, and now we have the. Ah, that's a really nice play. You see, all those veterans are basically being protected by those armored pistoliers, and they're going to take off 25% of any incoming damage as long as they are alive and in range. And now we just see how Kaister is just being pushed and hit and run, yeah, but it's more like running and getting hit at this point. And the cavalry in there, of course, going to do a number as well, forcing Kaister to bring in the anti-cav. And those are going to be picked off as well. And a double batch of cavalry, or almost a double batch, join the fight here. So this is probably going to be the last stand that we're seeing here. And there we go. I don't think that, yeah, with that small Dragoon Mass, there's nothing Kaister can do to defend this, in my opinion. We're seeing a few rods, but that's far too late and far too few to do any to make any difference. Ooh, God. And well, yeah, I'm at a I'm at a loss for words right there. Just seeing how Kaister is being slaughtered right there now, almost 10 points, of course. 10k points ahead, Concrays, and that's just a GG. No chance for Kaister to come back into it after losing those first 2 engagements in the third age. And interesting game, in my opinion. If you just look at the resources, right? They both went super, not too greedy. I mean, interestingly, we didn't see Concrete even lay a foot onto water, but lay a finger onto water. But Kaister, he was super greedy with his water boom, and then he just didn't produce any units there and took the bad fights. And also, he kind of did not benefit too much from the fights that happened right after he went into age 3. And also, of course, in my opinion, he should have sent House of Trastamara for his age up to the third age, just because how many H1 cards he pushed through there. So, interestingly, Conqueror, while having a bad timing, I'd say, or not too much of a timing at all in age 2, actually managed to push this, to turn this whole thing around with a few good fights and a much more aggressive composition here in age 3, especially. So I hope you guys are interested so far, because we have got that was just game 2, right? And now it's 1-1, so we're at least seeing 4 games, and I'm absolutely hyped for that. So let's take a quick look here, just so we don't forget that military. That is what I'm talking about, right? Kaister had the military lead in H2. He was ahead. Then we go to H3 here. Kaister losing a few units. I think those are the few remaining Huss, if I'm not mistaken. And then we just see that huge mass of Conqueror, right? Going up and up and up. And Kaister just not able to deal with this, not able to do with the cannons as well. And also, I think he underestimated the range, probably, of the organ guns, because they were just able to shoot at his falconets while they were still unpacking, and that just hard to do. And villager population, yeah, we don't. I mean, Kaister was ahead for a long time, right? But if we look at the gather rating of these guys, sorry, I'm sorry, guys, I'm too late for that. But I think it does matter anyhow, because as we said, resource-wise, Kaister was ahead, but military-wise, look at this, right? Almost the same skirm numbers here, and just 50% basically. 50% more kills and deaths for Conqueror. Strong performance by both players, and now let's get into the third one. I hope they're already playing that one. Yeah, Dolph Junge, it's nice that you're playing a game, but that's not helpful. So let's take a look here. All right. I'm just going to give you the overlay in a second. And we had Spain. Can't find Spain, of course. There we go. Spain versus Portugal. And there we go. 1-1. And the next map is going to be, we had Punjab is out, Saguenay, I think it's, no, Bengal is out as well. Yeah, we'll see that in a second. So I'll just leave you to it with this for now. And make sure that we get another game going. But I'm really happy to have this, you know, to have it start like this, because in the last few casts that I did were serious. It was not that it was over in a few games, but it started off very strong for one player, and that just means, you know, you have the kind of pressure in every game, and you kind of always want the underdog to win, to kind of, you know, get another game out of it, see another one of these engagements. And so I'm really happy with the 1-on-1 for the first two games, just to see how we're going to get one more game out of this entire series. So, is there anything that I overlooked? Kaister, no, those guys are online. So we should see the game soon enough. Hopefully. So, let's see. Still? Come on, guys. Don't leave us hanging here. And don't forget, guys, I'm just going to repeat this here in the meantime while we wait for the game. As I said earlier, we have a best of 5, of course, and those bands that you're seeing on the screen right now, don't forget those are global bans, right? So Brits is not allowed for either of them, as is Haudenosaunee. So we're not going to see any action with those civs here. And since Punjab and Bengal are both banned, yeah. That is just because each player has a ban, so they can ban one map and one civ for this best of 5. And we have basically a map pool of 7 maps for this round of 16, which is, and now please just have to look that up because of course I can't remember that by heart. The general map pool is Grand Chaco, Punjab, Saguenay, Bengal, Dakota, Florida, Kamchatka. So since Punjab is banned, we went straight to Saguenay, and now that Bengal is banned, we're going to go with Dakota next. So this is going to be a land map this time, but with a lot of promising trading route. So we'll see about that in a second or so, hopefully. Just give me a second. So let's see. I hope they did not forget to put it on to activate spectator mode. That would be quite the shame. I wouldn't want to leave you hanging right now. That would be quite the shame, to be honest. Oh, and just to say about the overlay, this is called Flads overlay, which is free to use software, and it's just I'm saying that as personally saying that, right? Not because I'm getting paid for that, sadly. But it's just absolutely huge and super easy to use and fun to do with things like this, right? So I see what you mean. I see what you mean, Risotto, but I think I'm pretty sure. No, it's actually right the way that I posted it here. So Kaister banned Punjab and Conqueror banned Bengal. So I'm also interested in what they were afraid of each, in each map. But sadly, we're not going to see it in this case. No, that's of course it's a bit upsetting right here. I fear that they already started playing the game but without activating the spectator mode. Oh, they're taking a break without telling us. So one of those two is gonna be the case right here. But it looks like we might have to take a small break right here, even though I really don't want to do that, because that of course means that, well, when there's the next game that we will have to cast that from a wreck as well. But you see, if they made that mistake, then there's probably nothing I can do against them. Quite the shame. Hey, I don't see all the hate for Bengal, to be honest. It's not that I like to play on the map myself, but I think that the way that the map is structured gives you an interesting dynamic in the map itself, and that is just something I'm always looking out for in these games. Horsefeed, because I see you posting Kaister. As you might know, I'm not Harrison, but Kaister was. Oh, finally that has been updated. Thank you very much. I'm FD, so just an Austrian caster doing the cast here. Just to clear it up. I think I've cleared it up now for quite a few times, but well, apparently Twitch still thinks that I'm Harrison. Ah. Alright, so we will have to cast that one from the wreck. So this is going to be Kaister Conqueror. Oh, background noise. Sorry. Better now, I hope. So I'm just going to get the wreck ready, and we're going to play that in a second and be. So stay with me for this one. Kaister versus Conqueror. 3. All right. And don't forget, we are already on a 1-on-1 score, so that is the third game. So slowly but surely, no matter who wins the next game, is going to be on a point on match points basically for the following games then. So let's just hope. Yeah, looking good. So just any second now. Sorry for the delay, as I said. Sadly, a spectator mode wasn't working for the last one, but we're just going to load into the rec from the third game and see what awaits us there. So, all right, Ah, all right. Because people were talking about Ottoman and beforehand. We're actually going to see it this game. But I won't spoil too much because we're going to go into the score anyways right now. Into the score, into the game. And we should be back at it right now. So, there we go. All right. So, on the northwestern side, Kaister with his Ottoman, and Conqueror on the north, on the southeast, of course, in this map. And I just have to think of Feldertobi for the guys, for those of you who know him, because I think Dakota is still his most favorite map of all times, and absolutely get why. Just let me explain it quickly. The idea is that these two rocks shape the entire dynamic of the map, just because you are forced to go around them and therefore always have to make a huge strategic decision on what angle, or from what angle you want to approach the enemy space, or where you want to position your villas, because you're just easily cut off in the motion. And that is something that makes this map even more exciting, in my opinion. But yeah, let's see how those guys are going to play out. I'm especially hyped for this matchup because we've seen it yesterday in what was quite the spectacular match on Punjab between Rizi and Ezra. There we go. So I will be really happy to watch this. Conqueror with his Germans, of course, already going for hunting dogs and the usual German business. Chopping the last of the wood that he needs. Yeah, and there we go. Overchopped by one wood, so what can you say? Perfect gameplay there. Hunting dogs coming in, the usual German market start. And on the other side, we have the Ottoman player going for the silk. Oh, we saw this. We saw this yesterday as well. He's actually leaving his crates there. And for all of you who don't know why that happens, when you send in that Silk Road, right, you've got 25% more resources on all your crates as well. Also on the ones they already have on the ground. So if you leave the starting crates, you basically get 25 resources each here. So 75 wood and 25 food as well, which is just a nice thing to have, to be honest. Trading post, of course, still up nonetheless. And that one is also going to give us more. Yeah, you see that? 25 more XP there as well. So all in all, nice bonus for the Ottoman player. And now gathering up all that extra wood that he has now, making this entire thing even more fun. I think the first time I saw that was in a game. I don't know who played though, but in Punjab as well, and was actually Kaiser Klein who did that with the Ottoman to cut off the German player. So really nice idea here, in my opinion. Conqueror on the other side, not aware of this right now. Kaister going for another H1 or H2 trading post, and probably trying to deny. And that is why he has the dog here. That's a good play. The dog here is basically just there to kind of alarm Kaister, I think, of the approach of the German explorer. That is nice to see. And because people are wondering about that trick about that strategy with the Silk Road, it's something that I also haven't seen too often, but now already 2 times with Ottoman in this tournament. So it's going to be a thing, I see, especially in this matchup, because what you want to do is here, you want to try and deny the German player their trading post or any access to the trading route, I think. So I'm really happy to see this. And there we go. Oh, this might be huge. 2 HP left. He can't get the trading post. This is going to be such a bad start for the German player here. Conqueror in a dire spot, because without his explorer, he's going to have to sacrifice. Yeah, here we see the settler wagon. That's 2 settlers that's going to be idle. That are going to be idle for the next 30 seconds. So that's 60 villager seconds being lost right there. Ah, that's so harsh. And he even loses it. Ah, that's harsh to see. From the German deck entirely is absolutely fine. Standard deck, in my opinion. Just trying to make out anything that I would see differently. No, but most of them are. Most of those cards are probably in the German deck. Yeah, from my German times, at least that is what I remember. Kaister going for a stable start, and that is also interesting as well, because Kaister already, he's going for an early stagecoach. And the problem that we have, especially for Germany, those Delhi, right, they are just insanely good. Most of you guys already know this, I'm pretty sure, but those units have almost the same HP as a Huss, are faster than normal cavalry, so faster than Uhlans, faster than Hussars, and the damage they do is even greater than a Huss, while only having, I think, 10 HP or 5 HP less, we'll see in a second. So that is just insanely strong. And yeah, about the usage of the settler wagon there, they build faster, they have a better building efficiency than 2 villages actually. But the point is, it is still a huge thing to put them all the way up here, because there's just 2 idle vills walking up there and then, well, going out there just to get their trading post up. And then again, we have the first few Delis in there. Look at those guys, 310 HP, 25 attack, and the problem is the 1 attack speed. That is gonna be extremely strong. Now of course he has to get out here, because now he could fight. I think he could fight the 1v1, because they do, in the time those guys do 74 damage, those guys do 75. So 1-on-1, Delhi win against those Uhlans easily. Yeah. And there we see the last, or the first trading post already going down for Conqueror, and then we are going to have Kaister with a full line and fully upgraded line of trading posts, and the German player without any kind of extra XP income, and also not really a huge military base or anything. So that is going to put him in a dire spot. It's really hard to come back from this. Really strong start in my opinion. And yeah, those villagers are just waiting, probably to... Oh no, I thought they were waiting here to build the next trading post, but actually it's just going to be the Explorer doing that, I'm pretty sure. Uhlans are going in for a raid, trying to find anything. But actually, even if they get 2 or 3 villagers, we are talking about the full trading road here. So everything's under control of Kaister right now. And even though we have a huge score lead from Conqueror, I don't know if that is justified right there. If that is justified. He's putting up his Explorer on the back, which is a good move, I think. But yeah, the problem is also those guys, right? In comparison to other strong raiding cav, they can just stay under the TC for quite some time. Look at their damage. Just because they hit faster than normal cavalry, their DPS output is insanely good. And also, if you try to run away from them with your Uhlans, look at the speed, 6.75 against 6.9, you can't run away. So that is oof, really, really harsh. And I'm also, I'm just looking at the chat, right, and I'm also not too much of a fan with Logistician for Germany in that situation, because it's just going to put you on the backhand without that wood that you need, and that Germany doesn't like to chop for. And yeah, settler wagon going down. H3 though for Conqueror, but let's see how much use he gets out of that. The problem now for Kaister is, and that is always a problem in this matchup, that we've seen that yesterday with Rizi versus Ezzard as well, war wagons. War wagons are that one magical weapon that Germany has against typical Ottoman play, especially against Ottoman H2 play, because you can just kite and run along forever without much contention against it, except if you use those new units. And oh, as I'm speaking of, we are seeing the Ezzard coming out. Well, look at that. Conqueror now sending in the war wagons, but I mean, Kaister is not even forced to get off, to stop the sieging here, to do anything. He's just keeping the German player in his base, in his TC, doesn't care for the damage, because he is scaling so hard right now with all that extra economy in the back. Also getting 5 vills in now. Only on 15 villages now, which is kind of underwhelming. So I think that guy over there must have done some damage. Bind the Explorer back, so we know something is happening, right? And the Delhi again, yeah, those guys are being shot. The Uhlans trying to keep the Delhi off the war wagons, but the problem here is, again, those guys have insane damage and better speed than the war wagons. So they're actually going to kite them down. And I mean, 20% melee resist is not too bad, but if there's still 4 of them left, that's not going to end well for you, even as Germany. And just to answer your question about the siege of Azeps, 18 siege, so not that great, but of course for an infantry unit, it's somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah, and the Delay are just so strong. I'm just wondering why Kaister is not getting too many reinforcements in, now on 21 villages, against what is probably, how many are left? 7, so 27 villages for the German player, but of course the German player can't get that anywhere, he's basically locked into his game, and there we go. GG at the 10-minute mark, basically. And so just looking at the chat right now, yeah, that is something. Oh, I think the Delay unit is probably the most controversial addition in the last patch. Except from the nerfs to other civs, of course, but that unit is just so incredibly good. Also, look at the cost. It's just a bit more expensive than Hussar, but beats Hussars in every aspect. Because in a fair fight, 1-1, those units win. If you run back and forth, those units win. If you try to run away, those units win. Delay are always better than what you have for a normal cavalry unit, which is just insane. Well, yeah. I'm just quickly leaving that map. I know you. I'm sorry to do that, but I want to make sure that we maybe are able to catch up again with the other game. And there we go, Florida, game number 4. So we are just diving right in. I'm going to fix the score in a second, but I just wanted to make sure that we catch that game while it's still being played live. And oh yes, why I'm happy about this matchup is I love to play Lakota in the earlier stages, and now I'm just a bit confused about how to play them properly. But it's actually interesting to see Kaister play them here, because I feel like, especially with the last nerf that again got, it's a bit of an underwhelming civ in many prospects. But of course, Florida, we are starting with a market for both sides, so that might be an interesting prospect here as well. Delhi well legacy, right? Yeah, I see what you guys are talking about. Yeah, I'm on to fixing the score right now. Sorry. So that was a pretty clean win from Kaister. So let's take a look here. The most important things that Kaister as Lakota player has, the most important disadvantages that got implemented with the last patch, the most important nerfs, were actually that Lakota has now only 3 cavalry units in their big shipment in H2 and not 4. So not 4 extra, it's only 3, which makes the shipment much worse than 3 Hussars in my opinion if you look for value, because they're actually less expensive than a Hussar. But still, it's just harsh to see that, especially because they didn't just nerf that, but they also nerfed the club shipment, which was 7 clubs in DE at the start. Then it was 6 clubs, and now it's 5 clubs if I remember correctly. So this is going to be interesting. It is a nice pick against French, I think, though, because still with your cav raiding, not with bow riders, especially since they are now not as good as they were before against villagers, but with melee cav, you can just bypass that 40% resistance of the CDB. But yeah, I'm also interested in, are we going to see a 12? No, we're not. We're not going to see a 12-10 from Conqueror here. Kaister though, he's looking good. Is the score updated for you guys, or do I need to switch the panel of horns? Oh yeah, and take a look at the deck. So yeah, that's probably, ooh, that's interesting. I haven't seen any plays with healers actually for Lakota so far. So if you guys have anything to say on that, please post in the chat. I'm really interested in seeing that. But generally speaking, I hope that comes out. I hope that comes. We're going to see some healer play, because I have not, since the addition of that, I've never seen that before. I'm absolutely on that with you, Harrison, by the way. So I already talked about that. Oh, look at that. Interesting. We have the Advanced Arsenal, but also the Royal Fencing School, which is a fancy version, and to say, basically just a better version of the normal fencing school, also giving you 3 musketeers with charged ability that don't cost any population as far as I'm aware. So, nice one, of course, for the French player here. Well, let's get back to Kaister. He is aging up with 15 villages in 3 minutes. The French player is, of course, a bit ahead. Quartermaster here, and Kaister is going to go with the messenger. So we are going to see a fast age up. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be really interesting. Yeah, just take a look at that. We don't even have the 5 clubs in here, because 5 clubs for an entire shipment is just a joke. It's just... I don't want to curse right, all the time, but if I'm just thinking about 5 clubs, and about the fact that it was 7 once, yeah. I think I've made my opinion on that very clear. So, age up now at 340... Yeah, 50, and we go with the 3X Riders, the best shipment in the game, especially of the last patch. But yeah, Conqueror on the other side, he is still a bit to go, and that's good for Kaister actually, because this strategy, the idea of aging fast and then sending the 3X Riders, is just there to disrupt, right? You want to be aggressive, you want to disturb the build order of your enemy, because then usually most other civs, especially Euro civs who can't age fast in any way, don't have any chance to defend against this earliest of pushes. I mean, just you can catch villagers building military buildings and other stuff, and if you hit it right, you can actually do quite some damage against that. And you see 430, it's 430, and those 3 guys are already on the map, putting pressure out on the enemy. Really nice to see that. They nerfed 8 clubs to 7 clubs? No, they nerfed it to 5 clubs. But let's not talk about that too much. Well, yeah. So we're going to have, yeah, 700 wood right there. Most of his units is on food. We have, yes, that's great. We have the TP and the hunting dog. So economically speaking, Kaister is surely in a decent spot. Although, of course, we don't have, we can't forget that we are talking about France here. Who do not yet have... Oh yeah, there we go. As I speak of it, there is the seal trap. So now the numbers, of course, are surely going to speak for themselves in in a short period of time. But we just have to see how this is going to be defended by Conqueror on this side, because I generally against Lakota I do like Musketeer, but we can't forget about... Oh, sorry guys that I missed this part. Apparently the 700 wood did not go into infantry or into military, but actually we're going to see water play from Lakota here. So this is actually really got them useful. Because he puts pressure out, right? He has that forward war hut and all that, and he's going to have some units just to, you know, it's not about actually pressuring Conqueror, but just about showing pressure, about making him believe that there is something happening, something that is focused on military potential and not on getting all the goddamn water that you can find in the next 5 minutes. And now we are seeing 4 healers, and the problem with healers, for all of you who don't know that, healers now can actually dance, no, work at the community plaza, but they're only worth 1 villager, basically, each of them. So that means that if you have 4 villagers, you could let them dance here, and if you have 4 healers, it's the same. The only thing is that they don't cost population, they can't do anything else except, well, healer units. So that is also interesting. On the other side, yeah, we're seeing 700 gold from Conqueror, but nowhere close to aging up, so it's probably just to, you know, keep the hussars coming, and he's going to go for Cav Huss here, for Cav crossbow here. Also interesting build, certainly. So he's just, what I think is he just wants to tank all the cavalry that's going to come out of Kaister in this engagement with his own Cav, and in the meantime do the damage with his crossbowman, which makes sense, I assume. Also some musketeers still in there to counter any melee attacks. But look at that, we have Kaister on 30 villages by now. 7 boats out, 8 boats out by now. We have an XP dance with 4 of those guys, so that's actually 2 TPs. No, not too bad, I'd say. And in the meantime, down here, of course, Kaister getting some more treasures. That's a neat 120 coin that he's going to use, and he's going to be very happy with that, I assume. Oh, but now we scouted it. Let's take a look at Conqueror's perspective. He just scouted 1 fishing boat, but now he sees it all. And Kaister doing probably a panic button and just putting them all in here. I think it would have been better if he had those guys on the other side. Might sound like something, you know, like a nitpicking or something, something too small. But then, if Conqueror would not have been aware of that, he might not have pushed right now. Because he knows there has been a huge investment in the water play. And that means he has to push right now. Otherwise, he's going to be in bad spots in a minute or two. So that thing is going to go out, certainly. Let's see how Kaister's actually going to react to that. Point-wise, of course, he's a bit behind now. He's going to get the HP upgrade. He has a defensive ward, or not defensive, basically just for production in the back of his base. Units here as well. And the problem is, he has nothing. For now, I do see the bow riders coming in, but for now he's nothing to deal with the cavalry over here. So that is going to be, well, interesting to see. Oh, we actually see warriors. So basically he's trying to do a wish version of warrior priest boom without enough warrior priests or the usability of warrior priests. But let's not you know, focus on that too much. Those sheeps are here, just standing there presently in the middle of a war of a battlefield. Oh, and those 5 bow riders are going to hit so damn well right there. The problem with Sitten is, right, one thing you have to be aware of here, those guys out DPS crossbows at any point of the day. If you keep them in a steady position like this, they basically have double the attack speed, and that means those are going to do 30 damage, where those guys do 16, and we see that right there. Meanwhile, the bow riders are running around just making sure that the hussars are not getting too much damage in, and this is going to be a hard fight. And Conqueror is just pushing in here, but not really doing enough damage in my opinion. And now we are on 40 villages against 27. So Lakota economy should actually be ahead. And it was quite the sneaky play in my opinion, because he doesn't have any water there. So Conqueror now in a weird spot, right? Because he knows that his enemy is on water, hard, and he himself, and that's something that I wanted to point out beforehand, right? He doesn't have any anti-water, so no anti-water, no chance to punish Kaister actively on the water, and that means that Kaister can be here rather comfortably, just, you know, boom off to all his content, you know. There's as much booming as he wants there. He can just take the entire water part of Florida. And the French player is soon going to be hit with a problem that France always has, that their scaling is sometimes a bit slow at some point. So we are approaching that mark where, especially if you have water, your enemy is going to, economically speaking, going to be ahead. And yeah, what we just saw, don't forget that, right? Those Sitten bowmen, I'm just always impressed with those units, because if they are played right, if they're used right, those guys are just so insanely good in defending. Even if there's cav mixed in, just because of the high attack speed and all that. And you see here, wonderful work by Kaister catching those 2 husks. That is 400 resources that Conqueror is not going to get back, and he's going to need all the resources he has right now. But if he's unlucky, and he probably is, especially with the chief boosting the running speed of those units, he might lose those 3 units as well, and then slowly but surely things are going to steamroll and favor the side of Kaister, I think. True, stereotype, that is true. No, what I meant is usually when you play for a longer time with France, you have that problem that you do need your additional TCs to stay on top of it, and of course with that one second extra, with that 1 second less on training time, of course. You are true. That I have to take that back. And Harrison, shit map for France. Personally, right, from my experiences with map, I like the fact that you start with the marker because that just gives you a lot of tempo in the beginning. I think a lot of strategical reach to some extent. And there we go. Now we have the Falks, H3s through and so on and so forth. And now Kaister. Let's look at his army because he has cavalry, he has melee cavalry, he has the bow riders and a lot of Seaton. But let's see how much value Conqueror can get out of his 2 Falk shipment right there. True. Right. That is also true. The hunt spawns are... Oof. Yeah, now that I'm seeing it, that's actually quite unfortunate. But let's see. Those 3 guys survived actually the chase that we saw before, and now they're actually getting some work done again. But I have to pull out here. Yeah, no. They are being pulled out or being shot out. Taken out by those Lakota units from Kaister. In the meantime, Kaister still happily booming. Also going to H3 with 20 boats and 30 villages. So he is probably pretty happy with that economic situation. Military-wise, that's a bit of a tough spot. We are going to, yeah, I think Conqueror is doing the right thing here with going for a lot of dragoons. Because most answers that Kaister has against artillery is actually cavalry based, of course, it's Lakota. Yeah, and the problem with horse archers, they only get their bonus attack against artillery. Oh, they added that back in, okay. Because I thought they had a bigger bonus before, 2 times bonus against artillery, but only after the H3 upgrades. That is what I thought. But apparently I'm just not that knowledgeable about Lakota anymore. Yeah. See skirmed coming. What kind of age up do we have? The wise woman. Alright. Warriors are being built. Also some club warriors. I don't know if that is the unit I want to see here. But yeah. And it looks like Kaister is actively going for... Oh yeah. Get the upgrade right there. Getting a few warriors out to make this position easier to defend, but now he's pushed off tier points, and that coin mine, of course, is also something he can't take. He has to go back on that one. And now the warriors are just annoying, so he is actually just pushing those warriors out and being annoying with it. By the way, don't forget those guys. Don't give any XPs right here, it looks like. Yeah, so... This is going to be interesting. So we see that here the reinforcements, or some reinforcements, are going to be picked off, and Conqueror slowly pushing his way into the base of Kaister. Kaister going for more warriors and also going for 6 extra and extra HP. That is actually huge. But he doesn't have the upgrade yet. He does not have the upgrade. And I don't think he's going to get it either before the fighting starts here. Cuirassier is out on this point now as well. Conqueror sending in some, and also how many are on the... Yeah, 2 of them on the playing field right now. So that is... Ooh, but that was a huge shot. So actually committing to the fight now. We are seeing it happen, but the problem is that the skirm numbers have gone down dramatically here. But at the same time, skirm mass for Conqueror is also not looking too healthy. But look at that. I think it's also a bit hard for the players themselves to decide if this is good or bad, but you see all the melee curve is dying right there. And yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Kaister pulled that one. Kaister tried to pull it up the hat, but he wasn't able to do it. And I think part of that is that, yeah, the flag protection, the point is especially not just the protection, but also the usage. So they were always firing at the bowmen. And I think that was important. If Conqueror hadn't focused that skirm mass, then of course that fight could have gone terribly wrong. Also, a big problem for Kaister is I think that he does not have any upgrades. He didn't have the market anymore, so that means he wasn't able to, trade around to get the upgrades in time. So Senti support would have kicked in quite differently if those had been upgraded cavalry units right there. Stereotype music, I'm pretty sure they do. If you look at the stats, right? I mean, they don't have ranged resist. Ooh, and more raids coming in from the goons. But they got a good HP pool. 200 here, 225 there, and much higher attack. So 40 in H2 if you recompensate for attack speed. Ooh, but the cures are going to be insanely dangerous because there's just no anti-cav left for Haudenosaunee right there. For Haudenosaunee, for Lakota. Oof, that could have gone terribly wrong. But also, what I don't like is that Conqueror is just, you know, basically leaving Kaister alone on water. Because if he could just put out, if he had that one shipment in there, just 2 caravels would do so much work right there. Yeah, and those warriors just being annoying, just basically dying for nothing over there. But yeah, Kaister kind of squished into his own base now. He's happy to take water still, no worries there, but right now we have, what, 57 villages against 39. And water is slowly running out, so we see the last few spots for food are up there. And then, he's right now he's actually greatly benefiting from the fact that he aged with a wise woman. Not just because of the gather speed, but also, and mostly I'd say, due to the fact that he still has bison in his base. Otherwise, this is the next herd that he has, and that is going to be huge. So let's take a look here. I'm sorry if I'm going quiet in the meantime sometimes. I'm just always taking a look at the... I'm just always taking a look at the chat as well to make sure I don't oversee something there. Like the the comment about the scaling of the French player right here. But yeah, even score right now. Lakota always feels different because their score is mostly based on the military capacities, right? What's interesting here to me is that he's basically, there's no anti-cav in there for Kaister. And on the other side, Conqueror, he's already going heavily for skirms. He's probably just waiting for the cavalry combat to come in to put and to commit to a heavy charge there, because goons also benefit from that, and then on. And those fights are going to be really important for him. Now we've got Elite Extra there, and also we have that extra 20 HP on them from the Senti support. But still, it's going to be hard to get that in. One thing I could imagine though, and we might see that, look at Great Hunter. I know it sounds weird, but if you send that in, right, you get 1,100, and it's going to be more in a second, food deposited in your inventory, basically, in your bank. And if he sends it in the right spot, he could actually big button into the skirm mass of France. So if he times it right, there could be something that happens. But he's going for cav combat. And we see all of this coin is basically being gathered here. And I don't think Lakota has a problem with coin at this point, but he does have a problem, a huge problem in the second or so, with food. Because as we said before, even though we had that worst spawn for Conqueror in the north, he's basically run through all his food supplies in base, and he hasn't been able to actually gather that stuff and get those hunts closer to his TC, which means that he is now in a weird position. Although he might get a few raids up here. I mean, that alone up there, if he sees that, might be a huge thing to get. Ah, so close. Now back to the fight. It's a back and forth, and now we see one huge problem that, of course, Kaister has with his Wakina rifles. I mean, the base damage is higher than the skirms from France, but the HP is worse, and that is even much more important, they can be kited due to their, oh, not really because of their speed, but they have a problem with their range, since skirms just always usually get the first shot out. And I'm absolutely with you on that, Garger. So yeah, that a few good shots. Also the TP, don't forget that still boosts HP by a bit. And if you get that big button over here, in theory it also boosts movement speed. Sorry. And the voice is acting up after 3 hours, with 2 hours of casting. Now he gets the rate that he wanted before. But it might not be... yeah. he might not get his full potential just because the fight down here is over. Those three are going to escape, luckily for Kaister, but those guys are pretty much gone for now. Ooh, look at that. That is not a bad pickup for Kaister, if he can actually pick it up, but no. Ah, if he had gotten those guys, I mean, that would have been 1,200 resources right there. And by the way, because people are... Healer change here is huge. I'm not too sure, because the healers don't do too much right now. Honestly. I mean, the XP is super important for Lakota, because he's getting all his cavalry upgrades. Oh, but now he's a bit out of position, and if those cures get the hits, and this is going to be brutal. And now we're going to see the big fight right here, I think. And the cures are right on the skirm still, dropping HP left and right, but now... Bow Riders in position, and they're in the position they want to be in, right? Just firing ahead with their 1.5 attack speed, and those cures are going down easily. But the same also counts for the X-Riders on the side of Kaister. And now look at that score lead for Kaister, actually. 8,000 points ahead for the Lakota player, just because of that little fight there. And now, when he's in range, the Wikinas are actually going to do their job with 26 extra attack due to dance and all that stuff. Ooh. That was strong. CDB is trying to chim in here, but no chance. And now the Cuirassiers, the new ones, going into the Bow Riders, so worst spot for them to be in. Ah, and now that was a huge swing. That fight was extremely strong from Kaister, or for Kaister especially. And now he's actually pulling back. Doesn't want to overcommit, doesn't want to, you know, want to play the safe probably. And there we get the GG from Conqueror. And then... if I'm not mistaken, that should have been the 3-2-1. So, guys, wonderful games by both players. I'm really impressed, and especially this thing right here. Oh, that was nice to see, because he just sneakily behind that push and aggressive. You know, he made it look like it was an aggressive play with the forward war, had the 3 Lakota riders, the X-Riders at the start. But in the meantime, next card went into the docks, and that just put Kaister so far ahead in economic terms, and then in the end, military-wise, he was just able to overpower Conqueror. Also, I think that Conqueror... the problem with Kurz is that in most cases, right, they are awesome at tanking and all that, but with Bow Riders are so hard to push into with cavalry, because if they can just stand there, and that was what was happening here, because he had Cav that basically tanked all the shots from the skirms, those Bow Riders were just doing all the work they needed. Look at that damage. And don't forget, those guys do twice that damage in the time that Dragoon shoots once. So 37 damage versus 31. Those guys basically out TPS Dragoon by over two times that damage. So insanely strong. So Stereotype Music, we are not getting any more from this tournament, or at least not from me today. And I was happy to be here with you guys. I had such a blast casting this game so far. But there is actually going to be some event later on. I would tell you all the details, but the problem is it's the X5 Fight Night, so basically a 3v3 weekly tournament that's going to be repeated every week now on the weekends. And the problem is, I would love to read you the details, but the post that basically explains it all has been taken down repeatedly. And of course we've got host the finals of Beat the Boss tourney. That one has been also up on the Discord server. Thanks Ezra for pointing that out. So I'm pretty sure that is going to be a blast as well. And honestly guys, I've casted 3 series so far over the round of 16, and with that huge start to the qualifiers, there's going to be a second qualifiers round, but still I'm really looking forward to the actual action, because we have seen so much cool gameplay here right now, and especially I love the cheeky gameplay here. I love the things that I saw from Tevin and Frontline yesterday. As at Reezy yesterday was also a huge blast, so keep it coming guys, and we see you in the next going to see you in the next one. But before that, of course, I do want to look into statistics of this game, because that is something I want to look at as well. Take a look at that. That is what I'm saying about scaling, right? Not about the French scaling, sorry about that comment, but Kaister, 4,000 more resources and double the 3 units, so even better than you would imagine right there. economically speaking, yeah, we got all that stuff covered more or less. But military-wise, Kaister not even trading positively just because of, well, how bad his skirms, I'd say, are, and also for the fights with most built unit warrior. Yeah, can we talk about that? 400 to 161. I'm just putting that information out there. I'm just letting you guys gonna work with that, but just wanting to point that out. And villager population, that is what I'm talking about. 42 versus 28, and I know we've got that 25% gather advantage over CDP against Normalville, and especially with the upgrades and so on, that scales rather well. But then don't forget that that's just the water equals never contested, not at all. So that was insanely strong, and was what ultimately put Kaister ahead. To just put that in perspective, this is what Conqueror built up, and it took him quite a long time, because I think it was about that mark that he actually discovered that Kaister is on water, and then he started pushing. If he had seen that earlier, right? If he had scouted the water line earlier, then he would have known what's coming for him, and then I think he might have been in a much better spot to defend this and to fight this whole thing. But as we saw this now, you saw the drop, you saw that, and then from that on, it was fair fights more or less. But actually, Kaister was able to defend well in those few fights here, and then the last fight was just insane. I think that the heavy cuirassier commitment from Conqueror just didn't pay off at all because of the positioning, the mine, and all that. So that the cuirassiers were not able to, after the first few hits, of course, get into the main skirmisher mass of Kaister here. So what can I say? Really well played by both players, but in the end, Kaister takes the throne, takes this game, takes this round, a best of 5 in the first round of 16 with 3-1 clear victories here. Really strong games. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this whole thing. I certainly did. I hope you heard that throughout the cast. And I'd say, with this here, I leave you. And don't forget what Ezra pointed out. So at 19 o'clock GMT, Ezok TV is going to host the finals of Beat the Boss. So stick around for that, guys. See you, and enjoy your week, and enjoy this series as well. Bye.